Okay, so today I want to talk about my introduction to video games. It happened at Christmas time at 1986 or 1987, I think. Not really sure, I can't remember, but we were at my grandfather's house on my dad's side. My parents are divorced. They got divorced when I was around 2 years old, so I have no memory of them being together. But my younger brother and we get to our last gift. We unwrap it, open it up, look inside, and we have no clue what we're looking at. So we ask our dad, what is it? Well, it's an Atari. It plays video games. Well, what are video games? So he had a small, like 10-inch TV sitting around somewhere. We set it down on my grandfather's ottoman, hooked up the Atari, and my brother and I played video games for the first time in our PJs, sitting on the floor and at my grandfather's house. And which it's a good memory for me, but I gotta say the Atari wasn't like blowing my doors off. Like, I'm an 8-year-old kid, 7 to 8 years old, so I basically have no attention span. And I'm playing a single screen video game, which was Asteroids. That was the only game that we got, and we got 2 joysticks. And the majority of the stuff that we had for the Atari was all used. But it was just another toy. Like, we sat and we played it for a little bit, and okay, that's cool. And I lived with my mom, and we had like a toy room down in the basement. So the Atari went down there, and it mainly did not get played. It pretty much just collected dust. My brother and I would still rather play with our action figures and watch cartoons, and it just sat and collected dust. My mom did get remarried, and my stepfather, Steve, at some point, we got a copy of Miss Pac-Man, and I think it was used because I don't remember ever owning a boxed Atari game. And he also got 2 controllers, which I don't remember any boxes of those either, so maybe they were used too. But they were for the 7800, and I liked them. They were more ergonomical than the 2600 joysticks. But I remember him and I playing Miss Pac-Man together quite a bit. And I don't know if we took turns or what. I just remember us playing that game together. And eventually, we went to an Easter get-together on his side of the family. And they had a bathroom down in their basement. And I went down there to use the bathroom, and right next to the bathroom, there's all this stuff sitting there. And there's a 2600 with a box of games. And so I kind of start looking through it, and I ask about it, and the couple that owned the home, their kids had grown up and moved away. I think they might have been in college at that point. But the stuff was all still there. And because this probably would have been like Easter of '89. So they asked me if I wanted it, and I'm like, sure. Like, I've only got 1 or 2 Atari games at this point. So we take that home, and I get copies of Space Invaders, Chopper Command, Missile Command, Frogger, Pitfall, Jungle Hunt, Air and Sea Battle. I got another copy of Asteroids. But some pretty good titles. And so that got me using the Atari again. I remember one morning I couldn't sleep, and I woke up like at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I went downstairs and I was playing Pitfall. And my stepdad came downstairs because at that house we had a tub upstairs and we had a shower in the basement. And I can remember him coming downstairs and saying, "How long have you been up?" And I don't know, for whatever reason I was excited to play. So maybe it was like right after that whole Easter get together, but I was excited to play, and I went down there and played for a couple hours. But that generally is not the case. Like I said, that Atari was just another toy, and we played with all the other toys we had, all of our other action figures, and cartoons, and we would hang out with our, neighbor kid, and we'd shoot hoops or play a lot of, we did a lot of basketball, and we did a lot of baseball, and then we rode our bikes around. And like, if we were looking for something to do, the Atari was down at the bottom of the list. Like, it just, it wasn't blowing our world away, and still to this day, I appreciate the Atari for what it is. but I hardly ever play the games for it. I just, you know, I'm 41 years old and there's no depth to those games. You know, I've got an attention span, but there's no depth to those games. And the Atari did not make me a gamer. And in the next episode, we'll talk about what system and what game did make me a gamer. Like, I'm talking like absolute crazy. Like, I couldn't get enough of playing this system and this game when I first discovered them. And you probably already know what system and what game that is, but that is the game and the system that made me a gamer, which the Atari was not. So anyways, this is the Atari that I own now. This is not my original Atari. We gave that to my cousins, and then it eventually broke, and they probably pitched it. So this is a 4-switch model. This model went on sale in 1980, and the model after this went on sale in late 1982. The two models before this, there's the Heavy Sixer and the Light Sixer, which get their names by the switches that are on the front of the console. So the original model is called the Heavy Sixer. And then the Light Sixer came out. It was produced overseas, and the cases were thinner and lighter. And they introduced this angular design down the side. The Heavies, it kind of goes straight down and then curves. It's less angular. But the Light Sixers introduced that. They stayed on the 4-switch models. The model after this is all black. They got rid of the wood grain, and it says Atari 2600 down here, because the three earliest models just say video computer system, which we never called it that. We all called it an Atari, and I can't really remember when I started calling it a 2600. It probably wasn't until I was like in high school and had knowledge of some video game history that I started calling it that. But this is the Atari that I have now, and yeah, you know, I appreciate the Atari for what it is. I appreciate for it being the first system that I played. But yeah, you know, I don't play much of that thing, and really, when we get to the 8-bit era of gaming, that's when I became a gamer. So I don't really have much else to say about that. I hope you enjoyed what you saw, and if you did, I hope you stick around. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.